What up?
Hello. How are you?
Fantastic. Really, really good.
You cold?
No, I'm good now. I was cold. It's
Okay.
super cold in here, but I feel good.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Talking about music.
Music.
Never mind.
Well,
I just have like this small like snippet of music that just kind of burst in my mind when I hear a phrase or something like that.
Mhm.
I am that kind of person that just randomly bursts out into singing.
hmm
Even if I don't know the lyrics, but I know what song I want to sing.
yeah.
You always just look at me like,
Yeah, like,
that
that's
is
not
not
what
the
they
way
say."
song goes. But I just, I love it. I enjoy it myself. I'm happy.
So here's the thing that happens with me. I get like obsessed with something and I go down the rabbit hole of it, and I have to like learn it cuz so all right. We're jumping into this quicker than I expected.
we know you. We know it. Yep. You'll
So
be
I
in the
did
black
I
hole.
did that a few years ago with Hamilton.
Yeah.
Because I saw Hamilton, and I mean I saw it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I never saw the musical, the actual play, but
It's awesome.
I saw it and I was like, yo, this is incredible. And
Yeah.
I got so into it. I got super obsessed with it, and I just started listening to it like crazy, and just I feel like I
every
wanted
single
to learn
song.
the songs.
Yeah, every single song probably.
I don't know every song like all the way through, but I know
all the songs being like, I don't know, let's say I'll give you like 80%.
Mhm. Yeah, like the
You
first
probably
probably 25 minutes of the play, I can just like nonstop.
Straight
just
up.
go straight through.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
And then from there, there's parts that I like, whole chunks that I just don't know at all. And then,
Chunks
but I
that you
know
do.
some of everything, like some of every song. But yeah, I got like super into it. And because what happens to me is it's in my head. And if it's in my head and I don't know the words, I have to learn the words.
Yeah.
So,
that doesn't happen to me. It's just if it's in my head, it's in my head.
you're
my
into
head's
the music. You're
my
just you're
head's
living
gonna
in
it's gonna make up something.
yeah.
But it's still gonna be in the groove of that.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have restrictions when it comes to that. You do.
Yeah, I'm a little more
You're
like,
more OCD on that.
OCD on it, rigid.
Yeah.
You're more like
I'm
jazz, baby.
I'm just
Come
like
on.
the creativity just flows. I'll make up my own lyrics. They'll still be in the same flow and the same tune and the same rhythm. We're good.
Yeah, you're left-handed.
I'm
You're
Latino.
Just, you're
Oh, Latino. Left-handed? What does that even
you're
mean?
left-handed. You're
I always
using
have
a
my
different
creative.
part of your brain.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I actually don't know if that holds up. I don't think the
Oh,
date on that holds up. But
okay. I'm always in my right mind.
yeah,
That's what
as they say. As they say.
Our kids were younger when Frozen came out, and they were in love with the music, and we would listen to that. And then Moana came out, and it was the same. And then, believe it or not, so Raya came out, and we were all kind of expecting or hoping that it was gonna be also kind of like a musical or more like a sing-along song, as Disney has done for so many years. And we were kind of disappointed, I'm not gonna lie, because I do love the movie, but we were disappointed that there was really no singing.
Yeah, same thing with Mulan.
It just
that happened to me
like,
with Mulan. I don't know about you, but
it just kind of like we were like left saying, what happened? Where are our songs?
Yeah, that's why Zootopia is I think a fantastic movie.
Yeah,
and we watched it a bunch. But it's not one of those that I like to go back to a lot because there's no singing in it. I don't know. I just like the ones with the songs more.
Yeah.
So
which
here's
brought
the thing.
us to Hamilton.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but this dude, Lin-Manuel Miranda is amazing. So here's what I found out about him. He's really close to winning they call it a PEGOT. It's when, so in EGOT, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that the right way. That's when, so it's EGOT. So it's like Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. So it's like you win an award if you win an award in all of the categories. So it's like, what is it? Emmy is for TV, Grammy is for music, audio. The Oscar is for movies, and the Tony is for Broadway. So like there's been several people, I think a couple dozen people maybe, that have won all 4 of those. And then you've got they add a P onto it if you win. They call it a PEGOT if you also win a Pulitzer Prize or a Peabody Award. And so Lin-Manuel Miranda, he's won a Pulitzer. He's won everything except for the O. He hasn't gotten the Oscar yet, but he's got everything else. And he's only like in his 40s. So I mean, and the amount of stuff that he does, it's like he'll get there eventually. But there's only been like, I think maybe 5 or 6 people that have ever done that before in history. And so it's a pretty crazy group to be a part of.
So yeah, I guess he didn't really have anything to do with Frozen and Frozen 2, which is a shame because those are great movies. So whoever wrote them, he could have. Yeah, he could have, I think. But he was involved with Encanto, which
that's the only one I can think of.
Movie. I do love the movie. I know of a few people that they really don't like that movie. Why? I don't know why, but I really do love that movie and the songs in that movie, and they're amazing. And he was involved in a lot of songs in that movie, which is also really great. They're great songs.
I'll tell you what, that one for me, when I first saw it, I didn't like it, and then it really grew on me. And like the first time I heard the songs, I was like, what are these songs? But I feel like I wasn't paying attention a lot. And the same thing happened to me with Frozen 2. The first time I saw Frozen 2, I was like, that was weird, it wasn't that great. But then I watched it a couple more times, and I was like, yo, this is crazy. It's actually really, really deep. I thought the first time I saw it, I thought the story was like it felt very disconnected. It felt like they're trying to do too much. They're trying to do this whole thing with like, them trying to get married, like the dude trying to propose, and they're in this magical forest. Like it just felt like they were doing so many things. And I was like, what is going on? And I just think my brain was disconnected. And I think, of course, always with a sequel to something that was so good, you're always like wondering, is it going to live up? Is it going to be? Yeah. And so it just, I don't know. For me, it just didn't land. But then after I saw it a couple more times, I'm like, yo, I think it might be better than, I don't want to call it better than the first one, but I think it's as good at least as the first one.
Yeah. We haven't seen Moana 2, so I don't know. We'll have to see that one. I heard a few people say that the storyline of the movie is great, but that the songs are not as great. So I don't know. We'll have to watch it soon. And I'm hoping the same thing. I'm hoping that it's going to be good. For itself, but also as a sequence of the first installment, because obviously you always have that thing. Then the first one has a certain feel to it, and it's like epic, and then the second one, like, oh, it's not as good. Yeah. So I would hate for that to happen, but it's really good. And in the spirit of talking about of sing-alongs or musicals or whatever, now obviously Wicked has come out, and maybe, again, just bear with us, okay? We have a theater kid, and he's into musicals and theater and stuff. Me growing up, I was always into it. I did drama, theater. I did singing competitions. Little
no singing competitions,
little acting.
When we were kids, or especially teenagers, like when I was in high school, it wasn't cool to like stuff. Do you remember? I don't know if it was like that in Mexico. Yeah. It was like if you like stuff, you're not cool.
You're not.
Like you had to have
enough.
This idea. Yeah. You had to like this idea that like, oh, it's whatever. Yeah. Man.
I mean, we were teenagers when the hardcore culture was like really blooming, and it was cool to be like emo and skateboarder and exactly. Like
anti-establishment.
Like we didn't want to follow. We gotta rebel because that was a cool thing to do. It was cool to rebel. So some of those things that were cookie cutter
Yeah.
were not cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it was a thing, like if you as a kid, as a boy in New Jersey, if you said that you liked a Disney movie or that you know, something like that, a musical, I mean, especially something like The Sound of Music or something like that, it was like, that was chick stuff. Like that wasn't something that guys were into.
Chick stuff. Okay.
And so, yeah. And so you always had this thing, like I always had this thing in the back of my head. Like I had to hide that I actually liked these things and pretend that I didn't like them, or pretend like, oh, I had to watch this stupid movie because so-and-so wanted to watch it. Yeah. And so just stuff
else.
like that. And I had this thing in my head. And then I remember when I got to Elam in my freshman year, I was like, you know what? This is stupid. I said, I don't care what anybody says. Aladdin is the greatest movie ever. And I'm going upstairs to watch it. Does anybody want to watch it with me? I don't know what keyword, but that was like, I felt liberated because it was like, finally I got to a point where I was like, I'm just going to admit that I like this stuff and whatever. But even today, there's like this thing in me that feels like I feel like I'm just finally
ready to let it go.
So, I don't know, man. Just like there's this thing that I grew up with about just like you had to suppress stuff. You had to like
it was unacceptable for you to like those things. We get it.
There's this comedian, Bill Burr, who like I don't recommend you guys listening to, but he's hilarious. But he's like a Boston guy, and he talks about, it's like how it's unfair that like dudes, like we have this thing where we just feel like anything sentimental or whatever, like women can do whatever they want and they can act like things are cute and like they can, you know, go to the store and like he was talking about specifically like with Halloween, like he was saying like you can go and like say, hey, I want to decorate a pumpkin. But it's like if a dude wants to say, oh, I'm going to decorate a pumpkin, your friends are going to look at you and be like, you know, they're going to call you derogatory terms and stuff like that. So he's like, you have all these things like that you grow up with where you just feel like you're like suppressing every urge to like want to hug a puppy or like to do something that's cute or sentimental or whatever. And it's like, why are we doing like, that's why so many dudes probably have heart attacks and stuff like that. Cause you're like suppressing things that are
cortisol level. Like, it's just so high.
Yeah. But like, why shouldn't we be able to equally enjoy things that are obviously incredible achievements and they're beautiful and they make you feel good? And so anyway, I realized more recently that I actually grew up kind of loving musicals, and I would go to even just go into like amateur plays and productions. And there were things that I was, you know, a part of, and I could never sing, but there was a thing, you know, just like that I could be a part of in terms of acting or whatever. But like watching a production, it would always just make me feel like like the culmination of like the music and the different, like there's something about it that I always, it always made me feel like something that just like a feeling that I didn't get from anything else. Yeah. But I would pretend like I didn't like it, and I would pretend like it was not my thing. But now that I'm looking back, I'm like, I was like actually really, really into it. Yeah. I had pretended.
Yeah, I remember. I was actually here what you're talking about. This remembering that when we were at Elam, I was part of Kingdom Force, which it was a ministry that did drama and music and used arts to do evangelism. And I remember that we had that one talent show and we did stuff. And I remember you doing like a skit with some people in your hole and stuff. And I could tell, I was like, yeah, this is a drama kid. Like, this is a kid that likes acting and that likes all that. I don't care what he says. Like, he really does like that. And you were good at it. But you definitely had that perception. I mean, maybe you fooled people, but you didn't fool me. At least I could read.
Which perception?
I could read that you just didn't like those kind of things. Oh. But I could read you. I could read through you.
I was still trying to just be cool.
Yep.
I was just trying to be cool, you know. And I feel like I missed out on
some
life,
drama.
Man.
No. Well, it's never too late. It's never too late.
Oh no, yeah. So I'm leaning into it now.
But anyway,
I can't even.
So we
saw Wicked.
Yeah, we went and we did our parental due diligence because as soon as they started talking about Wicked and announcing again, our oldest is a theater kid, and his friends at school talk about these things, right? So he was really like, Mom, can I see the movie? I really want to watch it. So we just wanted to make sure that it was appropriate. What's the word?
Appropriate.
Appropriate and
appropriate.
Apropiada. I'm
There
gonna
you go.
say it in Spanish.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So we.
And there's witchy stuff, there's a little bit of, there's not too much in it, but
But again,
just in case,
this is
just in case there might be spoilers.
So we, it's our belief that we have to make our decision, and if God gives you an instruction not to participate or not to watch something, you obey what the Lord leads you. But in our case, we just kind of felt like the right thing to do was not to say, oh no, you can't watch it because it's not a Christian movie. But it was to see it for ourselves. Yeah. And see if there was anything there that we deemed that was not good for him. Because at the end of the day, his spirituality and his walk with the Lord is of uttermost importance to us. So we went to see it, and I was blown away by, first and foremost, the talent of these women, and everybody crazy in the movie. We know Ariana can sing because she's got pipes. She's got real pipes. And then Cynthia, I don't know her last name.
Cynthia Erivo or Erivo.
But I was like, wow, she is very talented. We definitely have to recognize God's gifting in people's lives, and she definitely has an amazing talent. And I think in the first 5 minutes of the movie, I was like, okay, yeah, okay, okay. And there were just some things of the movie that were just very cutesy, very funny. Some parts were really funny and lighthearted. Which I appreciated that.
I don't think I ever stopped smiling. For 2 hours and 40 minutes, I don't think I ever stopped. Except for the parts that were, a different kind of emotion.
Yeah. You definitely see a spectrum of, like you say, emotions, but also of things that the characters go through that really do speak of, things that we all go through every day, talking about having confidence in our identity, dealing with rejection, dealing with peer pressure, dealing with people pleasing, for sure. Yeah.
The thing is, we didn't have any experience with Wicked, never saw the musical, didn't really know the story. I knew that it was connected to the Wizard of Oz, but I didn't know how connected it was. And we went back and we watched, we didn't make it all the way through, but we started watching the Wizard of Oz again after we saw Wicked, because we were like, I don't remember everything. It's been a really long time since I'd seen it. And so we, just trying to connect things. Again, it's one of those things where I get a little bit too into something, and then I want to find out all the stuff about it. So, but I don't know. I think it's probably awesome for the people that have been into the musical for the past 20 years. But I think it was awesome for me too, having no experience with it, having heard the songs for the first time. And it was interesting too for me because there were the first time I saw it, there were certain songs that I was like, oh, those that's the best one, or that's the best one. And then when I saw it again, it was there were other songs that the first time I didn't really think were, I thought everything was great, but you know what I'm saying? They to me, they were on a different level. And I've been listening to the songs too. And now it's there's songs that didn't stick out to me as much the first time, that I'm just seeing just so much beauty in the song. It's the song that she sings, I'm not that girl. Is that song is just, the lyrics are really beautiful in kind of a, she's talking about how sadness, she doesn't basically deserve this thing that she wants. And you know, she says there's a line in it that's like, she's telling herself, she's like, don't dream too far, don't lose sight of who you are. And she's saying like, don't allow yourself to like press into this joy, because at the end of the day, you know, like you're not gonna get what you want. And I'm just like, ugh, it's just like breaking my heart.
Yeah.
So listen, it's just it's crazy to me how art and you know, music and art can like be that powerful.
Yeah.
That it can like impact you that much.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely. I was gonna say,
I'm getting it all out. I'm getting it all out because I'm finally like, you know,
you're finally accepted. Okay.
Be free to.
Okay.
Oh, can I tell you what we're thinking?
Sure.
Because I started finding videos of like dudes like posting on TikTok and they're just kind of, they're like saying things like, yeah, this was me before seeing Wicked. And like, yeah, my girlfriend's dragging me to the movies. I got to see this stupid movie. It's like 3 hours long. This is gonna suck. Like they're just, you know, and then afterward they're just, you know, like broken in half by how awesome it was. And it's pretty. Yeah, pretty,
I was just gonna say, the one thing I only wish that I had, or that was available while we were watching it, was subtitles.
Some subtitles,
because some of the songs, just the key that the song is, it's in, it makes it hard to sometimes understand the words of it. So there were certain parts, and when we were watching the movie, I was kind of like, wait, what did they just say? What was that? What? So I just wish that I had subtitles. I mean, I'm used to seeing movies with subtitles, so it doesn't bother me to read at the movie theater, just saying. Yeah. But we'll definitely, next time we'll watch it, and whenever it's available with subtitles, I'll definitely be watching it. And then we were talking about how, you know, because obviously in Mexico and other countries they're watching them, and we Elijah even asked, like, so when they watch it, like, are they watching it in their language or are they seeing it dubbed? Yeah. So I know in Mexico they do have it with subtitles in Spanish, so people can see it in English. And they also had actually the musical in Spanish, so they have it dubbed in Spanish. And we were talking about the difference of the language. So for example, the song Popular, where she's talking about giving her a makeover and just talking about how she's not pretty, and she's you know, she has a certain way of the way she looks and stuff like that. When we listened to a little snippet of that song in Spanish, and we were like, oh, that song is so rude. Like, it feels different. And it's interesting how from language to language, like, certain things don't translate quite the same. Or, you know, we were just talking about how Spanish is just more of a very blunt language. Yeah. And it's funny because, you know, Spanish Castellano is known as the language love. Yeah. So in the same way that is very beautiful, and it has all these elements to show romance and just add kind of like layers of beauty and love, it can also be very like straight to the gut.
Yeah. Whereas like in English, she's basically talking about how like you're the hardest project I've ever had to work on before.
Yeah, it's like metaphorically telling you you're not that great.
Yeah, in Spanish, she's just straight up telling her like you're ugly, like you're.
Yeah. It's like, wow, like that's just not very demure. No, not very cutesy the way that it's said.
Definitely not.
So it was interesting, but definitely appreciate that, like you say, the art, the talent. It is true, music has it's very powerful.
One of the kind of key melodies that comes up over and over throughout the movie is the Unlimited melody. And it's kind of like one of those anchoring melodies that it'll just be kind of woven throughout. But when that was written, it was written with it's like the first 7 notes in that melody are the same first 7 notes from Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And so it's like taking like little things like that, that only people who really have an ear for music would be able to pick up on that kind of stuff
and appreciate.
And there's other places where they do that same exact thing. There's another place where they do it with a same exact type of thing, but a different, two totally different melodies. And it's just like, it's really cool. Just stuff like that. And then all the stuff from the Wizard of Oz, and like just the way the stories are connected. And yeah, it's just really cool. Like there's so much more than just there just so much went into it. And that's the thing that I think really just blows me away more than anything is you pointed out the acting, obviously the singing is it's otherworldly. It's incredible. But that mixed with, the fact that they're actually singing live,
yeah.
The fact that, Cynthia's singing, like belting the most beautiful thing ever, like while she's flipping in the air and stuff like that. It's unbelievable. But all the little things, like all the little like details and the decisions and the choices that they made.
It's just a lot of preparation, obviously, and a lot of work went into it. And that really speaks, I guess, to the quality of it. And now let me say this. I think that it's important for us to recognize that we're redeeming the good things and the qualities in there. Because we could so easily just focus on all the negatives and in all the ugly stuff, that some people could see. And I think you do have a choice at the end of the day of what you want to focus on. And it really is up to you what you want to focus on. But for, whatever good things we found in there, I think that's what we appreciated. And I know, Elijah was blown away, obviously, when he watched it. And I think I appreciate that it inspired him, because I know, so he just today he had a competition and he had been preparing, and he obviously, he believes that this is something that he wants to pursue, acting and singing, and he's got talent for it. And we want to encourage the things that he wants to pursue, obviously. So I appreciate that he was like inspired, to kind of like want to continue to do that and see what it looks like to commit or to put in the work to master your craft. I know that Ariana's talent and I forgot her name. Cynthia's talent. There's no doubt in my mind that comes from God. That talent has been given by God. And that God chose them to have that talent. And to me, I think that whether they're believers, I think in some ways still gives God glory. And sometimes we can forget that just because people are not believers or they're not Christians. Like, we forget that hey, they have talents and they have giftings, and those don't come from themselves.
We shouldn't like demonize everything, right? And so I think that with this, because I was asking myself the question too at the beginning, like, is it okay for Christians to watch this and to be into it, and like, to be listening to the music, bringing it into your, like, I wrestle with these things, right?
This is not a Christian production. It's not to bring nobody to the feet of Christ. But I believe that we can pray for these actors.
Well, that's the thing.
We can pray that God, like that we can have gratefulness in our heart to say, God, thank you for their lives. Thank you for the things that you're doing in their lives. Thank you that they're pursuing their calling, because obviously you have given them talents and giftings that are in that area, and they're using them for that. But at the same time, take that moment to say, God, I pray that you send messengers. I pray that they will come to know you, that they would experience, your love, your care, because they obviously should have that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like as a believer, the way that I have experienced God's love, the way that I have experienced God in my life, I want that for people that don't have that.
Yeah.
So when I see people that don't have that, that is my prayer. Yeah. My prayer is not like, oh, God, convict them of their sin and like, do you know what I mean? Like, come from that perspective. Like, I don't.
Yeah, like, God, let them see how good you are.
Yeah, like I don't want judgment on their life, because if they experience God in judgment, their heart will never be towards God. But if they experience the goodness of God, then their heart will have no other choice than to turn to God. Yeah. And then who am I to say, too, that they don't know God, or that they're not longing to find God? Because we don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, God is the only one that judges the heart and that really knows each and every one of us. So, again, like, I found myself taking a moment and really, again, like I said, I was grateful that I was able to see them and experience their talent and experience the gifting that they have and recognize it and call it for as good. Yeah. And at the same time, I did take a moment, in my heart to say, God, I pray that you surround them with people that would lead them to you.
Sometimes I think we have this idea that it's like, oh, if they were just saved, like, their talents would be so great in the kingdom or like in the church or whatever, which, yeah, of course. Yeah. But it's not that. It's just like recognizing what you said, Lord, there is, like, I see the beauty and the glory of God in their lives. They're image bearers of God. And in the talents and the giftings that you've given to them, and all of that is awesome. And I think it's great to, like, recognize the fingerprint of the Lord on somebody's life, even if they're not, doing everything right. And if we don't agree with everything they do, their lifestyle choices, whatever. But at the end of the day, Lord, like, you are what this person needs. Yeah. You're the hope that they need. Yeah. And, like, open their eyes to see you for who you are and your goodness. And as you said, just, like, put somebody in their path that could show them, that could be a demonstration for them to see, like, that you are really that good.
That you are real. Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes we can have such a narrow perception of thinking that, oh, everything that's good has to be confined to the four walls of the church or within ministries. And if we have such a narrow and confined way of thinking, then how do we win the lost? Yeah. If everybody is going to be in the pulpit, if everybody is going to be in the choir, if everybody's going to be that, like, then what about the other stuff? What about the other areas where we need godly men and godly women to be a light? Because that's what we're called. We're called to be the light of the world. We're called to be the salt of the earth. And we are called to set up a standard and to set up a precedent of who God is. Not religion, not the Christian club, but of who God is. And that needs to speak louder than us trying to box somebody to say, oh, because you sing, and if that's your talent, then you should always sing, only sing worship, and you should only sing this. I think that's kind of like lack of understanding. Yeah. And I think, how would they develop worship to God if they don't know him? How would they be able to sing to a God who they have yet to experience? Yeah. It's just not possible. Even if they wanted to. Right. then they would actually not have a context to what to sing to. And a lot of people have great religion, but they really don't have relationship. They really don't know him. They don't know God. Not because they don't want to, it's just because they have more dogma and regulations, and that's what they know. And I think that is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
And again, you know, I always think about, what about those areas where we need men and women? We need men and women of God in education, in the arts, in performing. What about, you know, dance? What about sculpting? What about, like, we need to have I don't know what you say, people who are representatives of the kingdom of God and doing what they need, what they are called to do to establish the kingdom of God in those areas, you know, in film, in photography, in writing, you know, in politics, in everything, because that's what we're called to do. We're called to be bearers of the image of God in every area where we are.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, 100%. So, did we cover that enough?
Yeah,
as far as just as far as, I mean, you know, again, I think it's a personal decision.
Yeah.
As far as what you're comfortable with, not comfortable with.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to tell you go or not go, because again, it's your personal conviction.
Yeah. And I mean, we weren't ready for like our younger son to see it yet,
right.
You know?
Yeah.
And
you always should have this kind of conversations with your kids, whether you decide to allow them to watch or do something or you don't. You should always have a conversation about it. I mean, I can see it on the other side, you know, maybe Josiah loves video games, and we constantly have conversations where we talk about the video games that he's playing or the games that he plays on his app and things like that, because at the end of the day, as parents, we're required to instruct them.
Yeah.
And we're required to take care of them and their spirituality and their relationship with God is the most important thing. And if we deem if we find something that is not gonna help them or is not going to bring anything good in their life, then we get to make that choice to say, you know what, not right now, not in this season.
Yeah.
Not until there's something. And sometimes you'll have pushback, you know. I think my kids have asked me if they can play Roblox for the past probably 4 or 5 years, and my answer still stands to say no. I don't have the conviction to allow you to play that. And it's not even about them. It's about the access that other people can have to them. Right. So for me, it's that. And then also, I don't feel at peace, or I don't have the green light from God to say, hey, it's safe to do it. Go ahead. Because I think that's the way that we make decisions individually and together as a family. First and foremost, we always ask, what is God saying? What is God saying about this situation? And what is the best choice, not based on what we know or other things. Now, I can think of somebody asking me like, well, what do you do if your kids go to someone's house and they're playing Roblox or they're playing Fortnite, right? You know, because it's happened. And, you know, Josiah was like, Mom, like, they're playing this. Can I play? And I was like, well, you're at their home. You can play for right now while they're there because you're playing with them. But it doesn't mean that when you come home, now you have access to all these things. Right. It, you know, it's just one of those things. And it's always important to also help. I think probably you had, you know, talk to Elijah about the good things and the things that you saw. You know, ask questions. What did you think about this? What did you think about this part of the movie? What spoke to you? What didn't spoke to you? And always connecting it back to to the one
Yeah.
that matters.
Yeah, I think when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to music, when it comes to TV, movies, these kinds of things, I mean, you know, the world we live in is so just full of nonsense
Yeah.
anyway, that you're going to be encountering things.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, again, if your conviction is that you don't like let any of it in your house, you don't like watch anything or listen to anything that's not Christian or whatever, like that's 100% fine. But I think for us, like what we've found is that if we, you know, watch something with our kids or we're listening to something on the radio or whatever, and something comes up, there's a line, there's a phrase, there's a scene, you know, whatever it might be, that I think that when that kind of line gets crossed,
Yeah.
you can use it as an opportunity to, you know, open up a conversation and to say, hey, like, what did we just see? And I think that we can use those things as discipleship,
Yeah.
you know, or as opportunities to like speak to issues, to deal with things and say, hey, like, do you know what that was? Do you know what that meant? Do you know what that innuendo was? Do you know, whatever? And then like you can kind of also kind of get a level of, you know, where is my kid's understanding on this? So that there's some openness around these conversations.
Yeah.
And I just think that the arts and entertainment, it's just one way that it gives us kind of a practical outlet for, you know, getting into some conversations about things that are helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important because they're growing. I mean, we are growing. We're maturing in the knowledge of God every day in revelation. And so are they. And we can't shelter. You know what I mean? Like the worst thing we can do is just kind of shelter them and say, oh, I want to protect you from all these bad things. And then at the end of the day, I actually don't give you tools and things that you're going to need to be able to make these decisions for yourself. And what happens when you leave the house, I have actually not equipped you.
Right.
Because I just have overprotected you. But I've never actually given you the tools that you need to stand for yourself and stand for your faith and have convictions and have a moral stand on things, all in the sake of security or protection. Right. And I think that that's a trap from the enemy, a very, very quick trap. And at the end of the day, like you say, is you want to make sure that you create that environment where you're the person that your kids want to talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to make sure that you know that that you can tell me what you're really thinking. And I'm not going to judge what comes out of your mouth, but that I'm actually going to have ears to hear. And I'm going to hear your words, and that together we're going to follow God's wisdom to make the decisions that are necessary. And also that I'm going to lead you towards Him so that you can find the answer for yourself. Because that's the best thing that we can give them. Yeah. That's the best thing that I can give you is making sure that you know His voice, that you have tools that you can use to make godly decisions. And would I agree with your decisions? I know that there'll be times where I don't agree with your decisions, but I can trust God that He's the one that's leading you. Yeah. And just kind of help them strengthen that security and that conviction and that confidence in who God is in them.
Yeah. Well, even just the fact that, you know, Josiah being in that situation a couple of times where he's with a friend and they're about to do something that generally he's not allowed to do, or he's not sure, that he'll call and say, hey, Mom or Dad, are you okay with me doing this? Yeah. And maybe the answer is yes, maybe the answer is no. But I mean, the fact that you're calling and asking, it bodes well for you, you know, as long as it's not something crazy. Like, I mean, I'm going to be more inclined to say yes. Right. You know, if again, it's a case by case thing, but the fact that I can see that you have that thing in you that isn't just like, oh, well, mom's not here, dad's not here, so I can do it, you know? Yeah. And so, yeah, that's I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not perfect how things go. And sometimes, I remember them like throwing a fit, you know, before when they were a bit younger, you know, about, and I'm not saying that we've never had those situations where it's like, well, this is what I said, like, and you do have to say that because they might not be at the place where they can actually hear you and understand why you're making the decisions that you're making. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, and I was saying this to somebody today, I have great memories that I share with my kids about when I was a kid, and then when my mom and my dad disciplined me. Mm-hmm. But I also see it now from the perspective of an adult, that I also have memories now as an adult that I share with mom and dad. And it's so beautiful to be able to see how you expect that your relationship with your children will progress from when they're little and they have to submit to your authority, and how the relationship grows and develops to the point where you can become friends with your children. You know, like I have a great relationship with my mom, and to some extent, you know, I consider my mom my friend, and she considers me a friend. Mm-hmm. And still, even though we're, you know, I'm older and I'm an adult and I have my own family, there are times still when mom needs to talk to me as mom, and I still respect that place of authority that she has, you know. And I think that that's beautiful when, as an adult, you can develop that. And it definitely, it doesn't happen from, you know, automatically, because I also have seen how relationships can, what's the word? They can fall apart, and how maybe it's like once you're out of the house, like that's it, and you're never really in a good place with your parents. Yeah. So, you know, it's not the same for everybody. But I do think, and I hope that one day, and I sometimes tell my kids, like, listen, right now my job is not to be your friend. Yeah. So this is not a popularity contest, and you're not gonna like my choices sometimes, and that's perfectly fine with me. Yeah. It's perfectly okay with me, because that's, you know, the Lord has entrusted me with your care, and I'm gonna do what I consider to be the best way to take care of you. And maybe one day you'll understand it, and maybe you won't. It's up to God. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but it was great to go see this movie and kind of be able to see it for ourselves and make a choice for ourselves, and be surprised about that, you know.
Yeah. So before we go,
yeah, sure.
Can you guess?
Can I guess?
Can you guess?
Probably not.
Right. Can you guess the top 10 Broadway musicals of all time?
Top 10? That's like a lot.
It's a lot. Oh, I'm not expecting you to get all 10. I'm just saying. I'll help you with it.
The first 4?
Yeah, no, we'll mention all 10, but I just want you to, so, and this is not based on like which one's the best. This is literally just based on the highest growth, like the ones that have made the most money. Okay. Essentially. So
Cats?
Cats is not there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought about that one too.
I watched Cats.
When I was a kid, that's the one that they were always advertising.
They were talking about, yeah.
And I was like, what is this? This looks stupid. Like,
what about The Lion King? I think Broadway, The Lion King is probably top there. Yeah, I remember some. Did one of my friends actually got engaged at the Lion King Broadway musical? I want to say yes. I kind of vaguely remember.
If you're listening, let us know.
Yeah, I think so.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lion King's actually number one all time.
Yeah, I know that's a big Broadway musical. I don't know. Is Jersey Boys there?
Jersey Boys is number 9 on the list.
Oh, there you go. Rent?
Rent is not there.
No, Chicago?
Chicago is number 6.
Okay.
I wouldn't have gotten that one.
You see, I know
I
more
don't even
about
know
Broadway
what it is.
than
I
you.
remember, like, I think my sister had like a VHS of it or something.
The movie.
Yeah.
It's
Was it
different.
Richard Gere in that movie?
Chicago?
Or am I thinking something crazy?
No, isn't. Oh,
Talking about the
Moulin
movie,
Rouge.
movie.
Is it Moulin Rouge there?
Moulin Rouge is not
Okay.
there.
Maybe that's just the movie. Never mind. I know somebody's gonna say like Moulin Rouge. What do you have?
Yeah, I don't know if that was
movie?
on Broadway or if it was just, I don't know.
Les Miserables.
Les Miserables is number 10.
Yeah.
Surprised that that'd be a little higher, but yeah, it's number 10.
That's so. The Greatest Showman is another movie that's kind of like a musical that we absolutely love. Like Josiah loves that movie. It's really good.
Yeah, great songs.
Yeah,
great songs.
And I know Les Miserables with Anne Hathaway. I know they say that it's also very great. I don't think I've seen the whole thing.
Hugh Jackman?
Yeah. They're in the movie.
I remember watching it and I didn't see it all the way through.
Yeah,
and I
maybe
think it was
we'll
bothering
have to
me.
Revisit it. I don't know.
I think that's the sound in that movie was bothering me. The like something like I said, the music's too loud and the singing's not loud enough or something like that. It bothers me. And there's times in The Greatest Showman where that happens too, and it drives me a little bit crazy.
Yeah. So what else?
So there's another one that I kind of think of these two together, Les Mis and this other one, kind of like, this one goes back a while and it's kind of a dark sort of a vibe to it. They've made movies out of it as well.
The Phantom of the Opera, isn't that a musical? Yeah, isn't that a musical?
That one. That's the one I was thinking. Yep. So Phantom is number 3.
Yeah, and then there's a movie of it too.
Yeah, they've made I think a few movies. Yeah.
I don't think the last movie really I didn't really like it. I think
it was like with that girl. I don't know her name, but she's in that movie.
I just didn't. It didn't really appeal to me.
Yeah. Yeah, me either.
What else?
So let's try to get number 2. Number 2 is a big deal.
Well, Wicked, obviously.
Wicked is number 2.
Yeah, Wicked obviously was in Broadway.
There we go.
Okay, number 3.
So number 3 was Phantom.
Okay.
And number 1 was Lion King.
Okay.
We've got a couple others scattered throughout. Number 4 we haven't gotten yet. Number 4 is going to be like my favorite thing ever.
Aladdin.
No, actually. Well,
is Aladdin in Broadway? Was it in
Aladdin
Broadway?
is number 7.
Okay.
Aladdin's number 7 on the list.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think yeah. So Aladdin's number 7.
Your favorite thing?
We were talking about it earlier.
Moana.
That's not on Broadway, I don't think.
Frozen.
No.
Don't they have a Frozen? Well, there's a Frozen Junior.
Musical.
Yeah, there's a Frozen Junior definitely, and there's a musical. Oh, I don't know. Just tell me.
Alexander.
Oh, Hamilton, of course. Oh, I forgot. I have not mentioned that. Hamilton.
Yes. So number 4 is Hamilton.
Okay.
But so check it out. So Hamilton, it's number 4 on the list, but it's only been around since 2015.
Yeah, that's a very
So The Lion King's been around since 1997, Wicked since 2003, Phantom since 1988, and then Hamilton is number 4, but it's only been around for 9 years. So that's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So number 5, you're not going to get. It's also a somewhat recent one, and I don't know anything about it, but I know it's super popular, The Book of Mormon.
Oh, yeah, no. I don't think.
And that was also done by that guy, Robert Lopez, that I mentioned earlier, I believe. I believe that's one of his. So The Book of Mormon, then you got Chicago, Aladdin. Number 8, we still need. That's the last one that you haven't named. So there's just one more on the list.
What is it about?
It's about... So this one's about a girl, and she sings.
Of course.
And I've never seen it. There's a movie about it, which you have seen. And it's about a girl and her mom, I think. That's a pretty big clue right there. A girl and her mom, and her journey to try to find a father figure, I think. Like she's trying to find out who her dad is, I think.
Oh, Mamma Mia?
Mamma Mia.
Yes, and I love that movie.
Yeah.
I love the movie Mamma Mia.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I watch it every time I can.
I used to watch Grease a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah. Oh, I'm surprised Grease is not that in that list because didn't Grease was in Broadway
Yeah,
at some
for sure.
point? Yeah, for sure.
I used to watch Grease a lot, and I used to watch Grease 2 a lot.
Yeah. I was telling Elijah that I used to watch Grease,
which is not nearly as good as Grease 1, but Michelle Pfeiffer? Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer was in it.
Oh, I was gonna say, you know what? I think also was in Broadway, Hairspray, and then they made 2 movies of it. Is there 2 movies on it? I know one has Zac Efron in it, and then the other one, I think this is an older one. The girl who sings in that movie with Zac Efron, like she's really good. She's got really good.
Yeah, I remember when the movie came out, but I never saw. I don't know. I don't even know what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, I think I found the movie a little cheesy. So, you know, when certain things are just too cheesy, it's kind of hard to believe them. Like they just don't seem like genuine. I don't know.
What's your Mount Rushmore of Disney musicals? So specifically animated musicals.
I want to say Moana. Moana is probably like my number one. I love that I Know Who You Are song. Like that song is just so deep. I don't even think we grasp how deep that song really is. And I mean the whole scene, they just did it so well. Just the scene and that what happens. You know, and again, obviously we know this is an animated movie and it's, you know, Maui and just that whole idea of like demigods and stuff like that. But when you redeem the topic and the story, like there's just so much to pull out of that.
There's depth.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth. So I definitely love Moana. I love Encanto, to be quite honest. I love Encanto. I like
good. I love
Hamilton.
that song. By the way, that song, Under Pressure. That song.
Yeah.
That song
Josiah
is deep, man. There's some lines in that song
song
that are sick.
Yeah.
I love that line where she says, I'm not gonna be able to think of it right now. She's saying, give it. Because she's saying she's basically saying how she's like the one that takes the burdens for people because she's the strong sister and she's got this thing. That movie is like really, when we get into the kind of the really themes and the undertones of what's going on, like there's
so much.
I think there's a lot in there about. I think a lot of it's like dealing with mental illness, and a lot of it is just dealing with like personality struggles and like self-image challenges and things like that. And her thing is that everybody always expects her to be like on it, and she's always got to be the strong one. And physically, she's the strong one, but she's always got to take people's burdens, and how like the pressure of that builds up. And there's a line in there where she's like, she says a lot, give it to me, give it to your sister, give me the pressure, kind of the thing. But she says, give it to your sister. And never wonder if the same pressure would have pulled you under. And I love that line. I think it's like, it's just the way that so sometimes I hear something and I'm like, the way they crafted that line, that phrase, it'll just like blow me away that somebody thought of that to say it that way. Yeah. And I see that. I saw that a lot in Wicked for sure. And a lot of these things. Okay. So sorry. So Hamilton doesn't count because that's not animated.
That's not animated.
So you said Moana. You said Encanto.
Yeah. And then it'll be Frozen 2 and then Frozen 1.
Oh, I forgot about the Frozen.
Yeah.
I'd put Aladdin up there.
Oh, yes. Aladdin is.
I think you forgot about one that's actually on your list. You're going to have to kick somebody out. The Lion King.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Lion King, I don't really see it as a musical.
What? It's the number one musical of all time.
I know, but I'm just saying, I don't know. I think that, I mean, it's the Lion King. Nobody touches
it's
the Lion
most
King.
Iconic, I think, probably Disney movie ever made.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's not my favorite.
The thing with the Lion King is that when I first saw it, I saw it dubbed in Spanish. So I
yeah.
learned The Lion King later in English with my best friend because she had it in English, and that's the version that she heard. So it's kind of like
it didn't hit the same.
Yeah, it just wasn't like to be honest, like a lot of things, sometimes a lot of the feeling of the song or stuff can get lost in translation. So because you relate to music like emotionally and by language, like it feels different to me than the other movies. If that makes sense.
I get it. It makes a lot of sense. It's the same thing with me when I hear, because we would do this a lot with worship songs. We would sometimes hear a worship song for the first time in Spanish or sometimes for the first time in English. Yeah. And I always did the same thing. If I heard it for the first time in English, I would almost always, like 90% of the time, I would always like it more in English. Yeah. If I heard it and learned it the first time in Spanish, then I would almost always like that version better. And so it's the same kind of thing. You develop a bias the way that you experience
Sometimes I would hear a song in English first, and then I would hear it in Spanish, and it would just like feel completely different in Spanish, and I would prefer it in Spanish. But it just really depends. I think some of it has to do with like the translation of words make a difference, the meaning of words make a difference, like just kind of like we were saying when we heard that the snippet from Wicked that was in Spanish, it just has the song feels different.
Yes, very
different.
Aladdin, not in order necessarily, but Aladdin, Moana, and then Frozen 1 and 2. If I'm honest, I want a Lion King up there, but Lion King was the first movie I ever saw in theaters, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. I was young. I think that was the first movie I ever went to see in theaters, and it was like the biggest thing in the world at the time, But as far as movies that I go back to and watch, like that's not one that I'm these days like. I mean, I watched it a ton as a kid, probably more than anything else. But yeah, it's not one that I go back to a lot. But I still go back like to Aladdin, and I even like the live action one that they made.
Yeah. I think the first time we watched it, like I didn't really, like. I actually do love the song "Speechless," and Elijah jokes.
I hated it at first.
Yeah, Elijah jokes with me that like that's my song. Because I was making fun of it at first. Like the first time I heard it, I was just kind of like, ugh, like I just really can't stand that song or whatever. But then we watched the movie a couple more times, and it just really grew in me. And I really do like the movie. I'm
a pretty big fan of Naomi Scott, that actress.
Yeah.
I think she did a great job with that, and she's been in a couple other things. She got to be.
Yeah, she's versatile.
What's crazy? Somebody pointed this out the other day. She was the Pink Ranger.
Yeah.
She was
the Power Rangers.
Princess Jasmine.
Yeah.
And a Charlie's Angel. Like if that's not like the trifecta of like the coolest like girl roles ever, like a Disney princess, a Charlie's Angel, and what was the other one? Oh, the Power Ranger.
The Power Ranger.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Kimberly.
That's some crazy range right there.
Yeah. She's good. She's versatile. Actually, I learned that she's actually a Christian. She's a Christian she's a believer.
She's Canadian, I believe.
Yeah, she's Canadian, and she's a believer. So kudos to her.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's always nice to see, believers that are pursuing again the dreams of God, and they're doing it. So it's inspiring.
Yeah. One more thing I want to mention before we go.
Sure thing.
Back to Manuel Miranda.
Okay.
He
full circle.
So it's still like out of all the awesome stuff that we mentioned that he's done, and Hamilton is like my favorite. Probably musical overall, although I don't know, Wicked is pretty awesome, so I don't know, I haven't let that simmer long enough yet, but still my favorite thing that he's ever done that I've seen he was like the first thing I've ever seen him in. He was in an episode of House like a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
He played a
I
guy
get right at the beginning.
He played a guy named Alvy, and well, his name was Juan Alvarez or something. They called him Alvy, and he was House's like
he was in a
buddy
mental
for a little while in the mental institution.
Yeah.
and it was it a mental institution or a rehabilitation center?
No, he was in a mental.
It's basically a psych
asylum.
institute. Yeah. So and he was the most like
he was all over
annoying
the place. Yeah,
dude, but so likable.
Uh-huh.
And the way he would just he'd just start rapping like out of nowhere, or like just talk. He was so cool. That was awesome. That's still it's so like it's such a goofy role when you like think about some of the stuff he's done, and you see, oh, like that's the same dude. That's so cool to me. And the other thing that I found, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but so like super not a fan of the She-Hulk show that came out on Disney Plus. To me, that was like the worst thing Marvel has done, and they've done some bad things lately. But the Angelica Schuyler is from Hamilton, that actress, Renee something.
She's got really good range.
She's in that show as her attorney. I don't know if you remember her, the She-Hulk's attorney.
Oh yeah,
in that show. Did you notice that was her? Because I didn't notice that was her. I found that out later.
Interesting. Yeah.
But I was like, I wonder what these guys are doing now, because the musical is still going, but most of the original cast is not in it anymore. They've moved on. So I thought that was crazy. But yeah, still Alvy. That was like my favorite thing that dude's done. That dude was awesome.
Yep. All right.
This was a long one, I think.
Let's wrap it up. Yeah.
Let's wrap it up. See you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, review, leave a rating. Appreciate you.
Yes. Thank you.
See you next time.